Hey, it's Mike with TechPV.com, and today's show we're going to cover macroline and fittings and Teflon tape and blue Loctite and all that stuff. It sounds kind of dumb and it sounds kind of corny, but at the same time, there's no way to get air from your ASA into your gun unless you have macroline and unless you have your fittings snugged up. Now, I know that a lot of people really like using Teflon tape. Okay. Teflon tape definitely serves its purpose. The only problem with it is it's really messy. Now, me personally, my favorite thing to use when I'm sealing gauges or fittings or fill nipples or anything is blue Loctite. It works amazing. All you need to do is put a drop on the threads and then just kind of work it around the threads and then screw that into the gun. Give that about 30 seconds to a minute to dry and air it up, and it works as good, if not better, than Teflon tape. Now, blue Loctite is not like red Loctite. Okay, blue Loctite is very easy to get loose. Once you break it, it just kind of turns into powder. Red Loctite, if you use red Loctite, you're going to need a torch to get that fitting off of your gun. So don't use red Loctite unless the manufacturer calls for it. It's used for other parts of the gun. It's more used for car engines. Blue Loctite is designed for air fittings. Now, another tip we're going to talk about today is the use of triflow. This is one of my favorite things to use when using direct mount ASAs. Now, you guys that are Empire Mini owners, invert Mini owners, this is going to really come in handy, is triflow. This is what you do. You just put a small drop on your tank threads and then screw it into your gun. Now, the triflow is Teflon impregnated, so it's going to dry, and the little bits of Teflon are going to stay on your threads and inside of your ASA, and it's going to make it a lot easier to screw in and out. Especially you guys, Smart Parts, with Smart Parts putting those shitty ASAs on their shockers and their ions, this triflow is a freaking lifesaver. Take a little bit, put it on the threads, and then screw your tank in. And all people, oh, the tank's going to blow up. No, it's not going to blow up. You're putting it on the tank threads. You're not putting it in front of the O-ring. Pressure is here. Friction is back here, okay? On the tank threads, it's not going to cause your tank to blow up. The pressure is in front of the O-ring, not behind it, okay? Don't put triflow into your fill nipple. Don't use it for anything else. But a drop of triflow on the tank threads is not going to hurt anything. The pressure is in front of the tank, not behind it, okay? If you don't believe me, take off your O-ring and then screw your tank in. You're going to see all the pressure is going to blow out the back of the back towards the tank. So just put a drop on the threads and you'll be fine. And like I said, on the invert Mini, put a little drop of triflow on the threads. Your tank will screw right in. Okay, now that we covered that, let's talk about macroline. Now, one of the worst things you can do with macroline is cut it with a pair of wire cutters or something along those lines. Okay, macroline, in order for it to seal properly, has to stay as perfectly round as possible. Now, the best thing I've ever found are these tubing cutters, and I believe these are made by Grainger. You can find these at any pneumatic store. I believe they run anywhere from about $6 to $10. If you have like a Grainger or an SMC store near where you live, pick up these tubing cutters. They make perfect 90-degree cuts in macroline every single time, and it just looks so perfect, and the seal you'll get from that will last forever. Now, if you don't have access to one of these, or you can't find any of these what they call tubing cutters, the next best thing I'm going to tell you can use is a razor blade. Very careful, and what you just want to do is get yourself a cutting board, something safe, and then just take the razor blade and push it down onto the macroline and try to get as close as you can to a perfect perpendicular cut on the macroline. That's why you want to use the razor blade. You don't want to use wire cutters because you're going to end up crimping it and it's going to leak like crazy. Now, another thing that you can use too is you don't really want to use box cutters. Those are meant for cutting cardboard. You don't want the blade to snap off and go flying through the air, okay? But carpet razor blades also work pretty well. Once again, get yourself a cutting board and just press straight down, and it makes a nice perfect cut, nice 90-degree cut. So cutting macroline. Now, when you go to fit macroline on a gun like this, the best thing you can do is start off and cut the piece a little bit longer and then shave it back. One of the worst things you can do is cut a short piece and then you're stuck. So make sure that you cut yourself an extra long piece first. Allow yourself a little bit of room for it to bend. There you go. And that's a perfect cut piece of macroline. Now I'm going to show you guys something really cool about fittings. And a lot of people don't realize this. Okay, this is a critical ASA. And I can't tell for the life of me what size Allen key this is. I want to say it's a 3/16. It's the same one that's used to adjust the regulators on the die and the torpedo. Very common Allen key. But as you see here, the straight fittings actually have a way, a hex socket inside there for you to remove the macro line. Watch this. We'll go ahead and put the Allen key into it, and watch this. We can now unscrew it. There we go. And now it comes out. I wanted to show this to you because a lot of people don't realize that the straight macroline fittings actually have an Allen key on there. So you can see that the Allen key fits perfectly into that straight fitting. So just a little tip, something that I learned a few years ago, just by coincidence, that I stuck an Allen key in there and it fits. So something really cool. The straight fittings, you can stick an Allen key in there, and this will prevent you from trying to grab the outside of your fitting there and stripping it. And then what we'll do here is we'll just put a little bit of blue Loctite on it. Put it down into the ASA. There we go. Okay. And the same thing with this fitting here too. If we wanted to remove this fitting, the straight fitting there, the Allen key does go inside there, and you can just unscrew it. Hopefully that should cover just about everything with fittings and macroline. Now the best place that I've found online, and coincidentally you can buy triflow there for super cheap, and you can also buy macroline there for super cheap, is macrolineguy.com. The guy's got some of the best macroline. It's got a nice big hole in it, so it's very high flow. It's easy to maneuver. It's not that super stiff macroline that you sometimes see. It's very easy to twist and bend. He's got macroline. He's also got Dow 33, Dow 55. He's got hater sauce. What else has he got there? Sleek lube, slick honey. He's got just about everything. So definitely go and check out macrolineguy.com. Guy is awesome. He's got all of this. So just to recap really quick, stop using Teflon tape. Start using blue Loctite. You can get this at Home Depot. You can even get this at Discount Auto Parts. You can get the blue Loctite just about anywhere. Use that from your fittings from now on. It works a lot better, gives a much better seal, and it's not as messy as Teflon tape. Make nice 90-degree cuts with your macro line. Use triflow on your tank threads. If you use a direct mount ASA, you don't really need to do that if you're using an on-off, but that'll cut down on a lot of the friction. And